Prime Minister, of course, is in the United Kingdom to meet with Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and they're going to discuss a wide range of issues, including the collective security and defence, global economic shifts, and, of course, the ongoing situation in the Middle East. As many of you are aware, this is the Prime Minister's third visit to the United Kingdom since being elected, and it is our experience that these secure in-person opportunities for world leaders to communicate are vital so that they can discuss important issues of interest to both of our countries. This is going to be a follow-up for both leaders who are participating this week, as they participated earlier in the G7 leaders' call focusing on the situation in the Middle East. As Prime Minister Carney has previously noted so eloquently in his speech in the World Economic Forum, Canada must diversify our alliances as the global order shifts. We must work with a variety of trusted partners to keep Canadians safe and to grow our economy. The Canada-United Kingdom partnership, which is rooted in a common history and enduring people-to-people ties, continues to grow stronger, with a focus on delivering prosperity and security for the working people of Canada and the United Kingdom. The UK is already our second largest export market and our second largest source of inward foreign direct investment. And just in the past year, in 2025, Canadian exports to the United Kingdom grew by nearly 63%. In June of 2025, when Prime Minister Starmer visited Ottawa in advance of joining the G7 leaders in Kananaskis, our two Prime Ministers agreed to an ambitious plan aimed at strengthening economic growth and prosperity, enhancing collective security and defence. To deliver economic growth on both sides of the Atlantic, they've committed to working more closely together on trade, science, technology and innovation, and this means increasing trade between our two countries to enhance cooperation on quantum, digital, critical minerals and more. And as partners in the Five Eyes intelligence community and at NATO, Canada and the United Kingdom already have strong security and defence relationships, including close ties between the military, law enforcement and cooperation. We've also seen being part of one of the strongest and most forward-leaning partners in supporting Ukraine against Russia's full-scale illegal invasion, including close consultations and collaboration on improving sanctions against Russia. And of course, Canada and the United Kingdom have worked very, very closely on the training of the Ukrainian armed forces, and that's a partnership that continues to endure. When the leaders met in June of 2025, they committed to strengthening that already robust cooperation when it comes to military cooperation, national security, intelligence sharing, and border security. The Canada-UK friendship is already deep and multifaceted, and the Prime Minister's visit today now builds upon that strong foundation and the commitments that were made in June of 2025. And of course, here in London, we have an excellent team of officials who are working very closely with our UK counterparts in order to build upon those commitments. Well, thank you very much for your kind indulgence, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
What concretely do you think the two Prime Ministers, when it comes to Iran and the issue in the Middle East, what concretely can come out of tomorrow's meeting? Are they working on a plan to end the war, de-escalation? What are we going to see after tomorrow's?
Well, I think our Prime Minister has been very clear in what he sees as Canada's role with respect to that conflict, and we certainly, he has articulated that we certainly support the effort to make sure that Iran does not require nuclear weapons, but at the same time, we are not participating in that effort. I think it's very important that the two Prime Ministers have an opportunity to discuss each of our collective approaches, because we have been such strong allies and partners in the future. I think those conversations could lead to, perhaps a better understanding and other discussions about not only how we deal with the conflict that's currently raging in the Middle East, but how we deal with the economic fallout of what's transpiring.
Hi, Commissioner.
Yes, Judy.
The U.S. has asked its allies to send military vessels. Britain has sent a ship. Does Canada have the resources to send if it's called upon to do so?
To the best of my knowledge, Canada has not yet made any commitment to send any of our naval assets into the region. We're aware of what the United Kingdom does. I'm sure that will form part of the discussion that our Prime Minister will have tomorrow. But the Prime Minister has been so clear, Canada's no intention. We were not part of the initial discussion, and we're not participating in the conflict.
We're talking about trade, the trading relationship between Britain and Canada. Trade negotiations have begun. They were paused for a year. What is that your mandate to get that away?
I think it's a very important part of my mandate, and unfortunately I have an excellent team of staff at Canada House who have been working very, very closely with their UK counterparts. When the Prime Ministers met in June and they agreed to begin that work, it was an acknowledgement that the work had paused, but some real progress has been made in those discussions. And as I'm sure you're all aware, Bill C-13 is now before the House. That will allow for the United Kingdom to join the CPTPP, and that work is an important part of those discussions as well. There's still a bit of work to be done, but we're working, with good partners. I think there's a great deal of respect on both sides in that discussion, and we're working through it.
Commissioner Blair, the Prime Minister is scheduled to meet with the King tomorrow, as well as the Prime Minister. Do you have any indication of what we should expect from the meeting with His Majesty?
His Majesty and our Prime Minister actually have a long-standing relationship, and I harken back to when Prime Minister Carney became our Prime Minister and the throne speech, and I think the King's attendance in Canada and delivering that throne speech was an important moment, not just in our relationship, but for all Canadians, as the King was quite strong and clear in his articulation of our sovereignty and his commitment to that. I believe that relationship remains a very important one, and I think it's a great opportunity for the Prime Minister to have some discussions. And by the way, as the very new High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, I'll have an opportunity myself. I'll be, of course, with Prime Minister Carney tomorrow, but on Tuesday I'm also having an opportunity to meet with the King for the very first time in this new role. And I think that really does reflect that the King places a great importance. He is our King, and a very great importance on maintaining the strength of that relationship, both, of course, with our Prime Minister, but also with the country.
What message do you want to bring to the King in your meeting?
Actually, I think the King will probably already know that I'm pretty chuffed about
Do you have a message, I guess, is a better way of putting it?
What's that?
Are you bringing a message, or do you think the King, you've obviously been briefed on where do you think the King's interests are with Canada? What message do you think he's going to be bringing?
Of course, I've been briefed on what the King's interests are, and in previous roles, I've had an opportunity to interact a bit with the King, but this is my first opportunity to meet with him as Canada's representative, as High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. But as the King has very well articulated, and I completely agree with, he's Canada's King as well. And so making sure that we have the strength of that relationship, an open line of communications, I intend to communicate to the King how much I strongly support the monarchy and its succession and his role as our head of state.
The King seems concerned by the fact that Alberta could get separate from the rest of Canada. Do you have any? Do you want to brought it to him during your meeting, your audience?
The King has all. Yeah, of course. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. The King has he had a meeting earlier this week with some of the Six Nations chiefs that were here in Ottawa, and that was not the purpose of the meeting, but I know that Chief Pete, for example, raised that concern with the King, and the King is, as our head of state, also always concerned about resiliency, but at the same time, that issue, I think, more appropriately dealt with between our government and those First Nations. It is an internal matter, and I'm not unhappy that the King is concerned about the unity and strength of our country. We're all concerned about that.
Sorry, Minister Blair. Commissioner Blair, sorry. You're probably being freshly installed.
I answer to a lot of titles.
I know, it's like Commissioner, Chief, Minister. You've had a bunch of hats.
Yep.
How have you been finding
the one I've got now is maybe the coolest one ever. But
there we go. How have you been finding the transition, and exactly how many days have you been in London at this point?
I got here on Tuesday. I presented my credentials on Wednesday, and quite honestly, I've been drinking through the fire hose ever since, because there's some great people here who are briefing me. I've had the opportunity to speak with former High Commissioner Goodall, Janice Sheree even before him, and great team of staff here. I'm learning a lot about the job, and of course they're throwing us in the deep end with the Prime Minister's arrival here today, and some of the meetings that are set up earlier this week. But it's been a busy first few days. I'm hoping it's going to be a busy few years.
Your last question.
Commissioner, I was just thinking a little more along the lines, like you are coming into this role. Is there going to be any difference in the role you play given our relationship with the U.S.? Are you also going to be a buffer in any ways in terms of the relationship in Europe? Like, I'd like to know how that works. Like, what is your understanding of it?
Well, I bring a bit of experience. I have dealt with and worked very closely with the institutions of the United States for decades. I've also, as a former minister of our government, have had a fair bit of engagement with our European allies. But I think my primary role here is to fulfill the responsibilities of the High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, to facilitate the work that our two countries do together. I think there's great opportunities to build upon trade and investment and in security and defense, and there are just so many things that we have in common. I think that will be my primary focus. But I think as well, there's an expectation that I will bring my previous experience to that role, and if it can help advance Canada's interest in the United Kingdom, then I'm perfectly willing to do that.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all very much.
So there you have it. I hope you'll leave your comments and like, follow, subscribe. Thanks for joining us this morning. We will be back.